Alright, hello YouTubes. I'm trying to make sense of a diagram for user interaction design, user experience design, and basically trying to figure out if these new customer service tools are a user experience designer's tools as well. And I think that they are, and it's actually interesting. I've gotten into this sort of diagram, and let me explain the diagram to you. First is the site, and then the user environment, and then the designer environment. So the user is on the site, the UX designer, the builders are on the site. The design environment doesn't get over into the user environment. It just goes to the edge of the site, and however much the user is in the site, if they're a long-time site person and they identify with it, this moves over here. If not, then they could be just on the periphery. That's what a bounce would be. So if you took this whole thing and slid it over there, they would just get in there and then they would bounce. So over here are the different tools and things inside the toolbox. So let's look at Google Analytics. So what Google Analytics does is measure all of the trails from the user, and then actually it gets back in here in the design environment, nowhere near the user environment. They just kind of look at the wake or whatever's left behind, although there are real-time tools here. Let's look at focus groups. They actually, well, I guess that would still be in the designer's environment, but really a subset, because you could do it off-site. Let's call this off-site. Are you seeing that? Yeah. Off-site. So that's where a focus group would be. And, unless you took the, so they come down here and then they do the focus group. But, really, this is all here. So you're asking the user to come to your environment. Or you could do the focus group in the user's place, but that really wouldn't be a focus group anymore. That would be an interview. So you would go to the house, the designer and a team would go to the house, and then maybe they video record or they do some record as they get on the site. So you're in the user environment and in the site for a stakeholder interview. Okay. Put these up here. These are finished. User test. So you could user test off-site in a neutral spot. You could user test. That's focus group. You could user test. Really, well, the user test would be here. Let's just call this, because when you get on the site, you go off-site, you're actually gonna be on the site a little bit, but you won't be somewhere in here, not far off-site, not far off-site, to conduct your user test, or you could do it at the user's environment. Now, the other one is the remote user test, and that's definitely here, but the UX designer isn't there. They're still on the site. So they kind of hang out here for remote user testing. All right. A survey. So the user comes to the site. This could be here and then not far off site, because generally you're doing a survey that is either overlaid on top of a site or a screenshot of the site, and then they look at it. But there's still something here about, are they really authentic users? Because that brings me up to my next one, and the ones that I'm sort of in love with today. recorded an interview about Woopra, and Woopra is like Google Analytics because it spits off stuff, and then you go onto a Woopra site, and then it tells you about what's going on. So it's really an analytics program, just sort of souped up, and just a lot of great features because you're getting closer to the user environment. For instance, you can get all of their stats and you know, like which business they're from and which part of the world they're from, which you can do with analytics. But then, you know, so this definitely gets more. Actually, you know what that does? So with Woopra, you get farther into the user environment. Woopra here. So that's sort of where Woopra, because you sneak in and get all that cookie data and, you know, their IP address, and you get all that in analytics, but it doesn't make it, you know, like you can't like name a user in analytics, and I don't know why. Okay, but and this is a feature of Woopra, but there's another one called, and I'm just going to lump all these guys in, and they're called live chat support. Live chat support. And thinking about this. So now this is definitely on the site. Users on the site, UX designer on the site, and the user actually gets farther into the site, and they are now interacting. They're going back and forth in a real quick, you know, the latency. You can think about latency and the interaction between like Google Analytics or user tests. So they test and then you make all your assumptions. But when you're in conversation with them while they're in the site, I think that this is a great tool for the UX designer. But let's talk about it more. So we got the user environment. So they're still firmly in their user environment, live happening on the site. And then this latency thing, and a strong connection. See how they get really close to each other here. They're not off the site. They're in the design environment and the user environment, and that is sort of like our remote user testing. So these two, I think, have a big connection. Remote user testing and this live chat support. And then in Specklet you can see all this stuff, but you can't interact. And this allows you to interact, but you can't see unless you use in Specklet and a tool, or Woopra does that, you know, integrates this in Specklet thing. It doesn't have video. I wonder if ClickTail is in here. I wonder if ClickTail has like to where you could look and see when somebody clicks on your live chat support, and then you could see all this stuff about them, and you would be able to adjust your, you know, whatever it is you want to say or how you interact. But that will happen quickly. You'll immediately know if they are, you know, frustrated, or if they're happy, or if they have a simple question, or if it's a difficult question, or, you know, all that body language that can come through a chat that just wouldn't come through in any other way. All right, well, this is getting to be a long video, and I hope this helps, and I will see you next time. Peace.